The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Sometimes the heart sees what is invisible to the eye. The more we see the beautiful and wonderful things around us, the more they become invisible to us. That is why we often take for granted the beauty of this world. The flowers, the trees, the birds, the clouds, even those we love. Consider a tree. As beautiful as trees are to look at, we don't see what goes on underground as they grow roots. Trees must develop deep roots in order to grow strong and produce their beauty. We just see and enjoy the beauty. In much of the same way, what goes on inside us as we grow in relationships, we look at what is seen, but it first starts off as a root. Over time, it blossoms into something beautiful, but the process is what we sometimes overlook. The process is what makes the product, love. On September 27th, 2008, it was a Saturday. Just like any other Saturday, I'd wake up in the morning, get ready for the next Miami Hurricanes football game. But little did I know that God had something bigger than that on that same day. After the Miami Hurricanes game, I went over to a friend's house to prepare for another Polyester Paradise dance. I was a junior in high school at this time, and we practiced, and we all got in our little limos and cars, and we all drove over to Dover Shores Community Center. And I remember walking in, and there's about 250 kids. They're all getting ready. They're all in their 80s outfits. And I went through my little skit as I called the juniors up, and it went really well. Afterwards, me and my friend were just standing on the side, just taking it all in, really enjoying what we thought was fun at the time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got a tap on the shoulder. And I remember looking back and seeing this cute little girl, big, poofy hair, and she said, "Would you mind dancing with me and my friend?" And I said, "Well, sure, why not?" So I went over to her and her friend, and as I'm approaching her friend, I started looking at her. It was the same girl that I had saw the first week of school, standing by those vending machines. I used to walk by the vending machines every single day on my way to like third period. And I remember glancing over one day and was like, wow, that is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. We must have danced for about 30 seconds or so, and then the song stopped. I didn't know what to do at that point because it was a little transition between the next song and the song we were just listening to, so I kind of just stopped dancing and walked away. But every ounce of my body wanted to continue to dance. As I was leaving Dover Shores Community Center that night, I remember standing against the wall, and that same girl that I was dancing with walked right past me, and I looked right in her eyes, and she smiled and waved. And I was like, is this really happening right now? Is all of this really happening? I went home. I was so excited. I talked to my mom and told her about this beautiful blonde, blue-eyed girl that I just danced with. Told her how amazing just the 30 seconds I had with her, and the fact that it was the same girl that I had saw the first week of school, and the chances of that even happening was so small. And I remember just saying, gosh, if there was any way possible I could figure out what her phone number was so I can talk to her, just see how her night went. So I spent the rest of Saturday night and Sunday looking for this girl's phone number. I talked to countless number of friends, and all of them didn't have this number, so I was just like, wow, I can't let this opportunity slip from me. I went to school that Monday, and I remember walking to my third period class, and I ran into one of her friends that was in that small group that we were dancing with. It so happens to be that her name was also Mackenzie, but I didn't know that at the time. I walked right up to her at her locker, and I said, hey, what was the name of that girl that I was dancing with? And she said, her name's Mackenzie. And I thought to myself, okay, she's just playing a silly game on me because her name's Mackenzie. And then she said, no, her name is Mackenzie with a C. I'm with an A. At that point, I was like, okay, I got the name. That's all I needed was a name. Now I can kind of get the number. So sure enough, I walked right into my third period class, sat down, and I get a text message. And was like, that's weird. I wasn't texting anybody that whole day. I looked at my phone and sure enough it said, hey, it's Mackenzie. I looked at my phone when I read that and I said, oh great, here we go again, another game. But then I remembered that she said it was Mackenzie with a C. So I looked at it again and sure enough, it was Mackenzie with a C. At that moment forward, we spent at least, I would say about 17 hours for the next week, a day, texting each other. No phone calls, but just texting. I saw her a couple times between classes, but we were too shy to even, approach each other. Well, after a week went by, I got to the point where I wanted to start to hang out with her. I wanted to see what it was like to actually be around her, to see if there was really that bond, that chemistry that I felt Saturday night when I met her. Well, she had told me that her mom wasn't allowing her to date until she was about 16 years old, and at this time she was 15 and a sophomore. So we had to somehow figure a way where we can convince her mom that it was okay for me to come over. So she talked to her mom, and her mom was okay with the idea of finally meeting me to let her hang out with me. So one early morning, it was like a Wednesday morning, she came over to Boone High School. She dropped her off in the morning and I went right up to her, introduced myself, and the only thing I remember is her smiling at me. I don't even know if she ever really introduced herself. It was just more like, hey, it's Baylin. Can I hang out with your daughter? And it was like, sure. And that was it. That Friday was the first time I was going to be able to spend time with her outside of the school. She drew me directions to her house and a little note. Said, I can't wait to see you. And she drew it up, and it was just hilarious because we didn't have GPSs at the time. I drove to her house, which is in Lake Nona. And when I got there, she greeted me at the door, and I gave her a hug and came inside. And I just remember, wow, this could be some place where I can see myself being all the time. I met her two sisters and her little brother Ian. I just had this home feeling, this awareness of comfort, this love. And I remember asking Mackenzie, I said, hey, would you mind going on a walk with me? It was something to just kind of get out of the environment. It was good to be in her house, but I wanted to just kind of get out and just be one-on-one. No distractions, just me and her. That's it. Just focus on her, just really see what she's about. I remember walking to the lake and looking around at just a beautiful scenery. Then we walked back to her house, and it must have been about an hour walk, and then I stopped her and I said, do you have a secret to tell me? And she looked at me and she goes, do you have a secret? And I was like, well, yeah. Do you? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I like you. And she looked at me and she goes, well, I like you too. And the only thing that can come to my mind at this point was to make it official. So I said, well, do you want to be my girlfriend? And without hesitation, she said yes. And from that moment forward, God had a journey that led us to this point today that I will not trade for anything else. We dated throughout high school. The first couple months were amazing. All we can do was be with each other. We literally had to get a notebook and write to each other every single day because we couldn't text in class. So we had to find some sort of communication. So between classes, we'd exchange notebooks, and in the other class, we'd write and we'd give it to each other between lunch and classes. It was just so good. It just gave me something to look forward to instead of listening to a boring teacher tell me about today's agenda or another algebra question that, honestly, I didn't really care about. But I looked forward to those notes every single day. Just seeing her handwriting, it just felt so authentic to me rather than a text. That lasted for about a month, and then things just really elevated. One memory in particular was my homecoming game. We were playing Cypress Creek, and before the game, there was a lot of festivities going on. I was hanging out with her and her friend Kaylee and Alex, and I decided to write her a card. And I wrote her a card in my locker, and I just wanted to tell her that whatever happened that night was dedicated to her. I wrote in the card, I said, tonight, I'm going to score my first touchdown, and I'm going to throw my first touchdown. It's going to be for you. At this point, it was like the 5th game in the season, and I hadn't thrown any touchdowns, and I didn't rush any touchdowns. It was really my first season truly on varsity after being moved up. So to score a touchdown was a really big deal for me, and I told her that night it was going to happen. It was going to be for her, and I wanted her to know that. Well, sure enough, the game started, and everything was going really well, and I got my name called and I was thrown into the game, and it was the second play after halftime. My first pass of the game. I threw a slant route to our receiver, Danny Williams. He caught the ball and ran it 74 yards for a touchdown. I'll never forget that feeling because it was the first touchdown I'd thrown on a varsity level in high school. And I remember celebrating my teammates, but the one person I wanted to see in the stands was Mackenzie. And so I ran on that sideline after cheering with my friends, and next thing you know, I see her standing right in the middle of must have been thousands of people just staring at me. She just stuck out. And I pointed right at her and I smiled. I wanted to make her feel special because that was all for her. Everything that I did at that moment, I remember before I took that snap, I just remember thinking to myself, this is it, this could be the play. And sure enough, bam, it happened. Little did I know, the very next drive, I got right back on the field. We kept driving, and we got to the 5-yard line. Right at the 5-yard line, I ended up fumbling the snap. I picked it up and I looked right in front of me, and there was nobody in front of me, and I just took off as fast as I could, and I scored a rushing touchdown. Again, it was just like, it was too good to be true. The fact that I even told her that I was going to throw and score a touchdown in the same game, my very first at least, on homecoming, and it actually happened, it just seemed too perfect. But I was so thankful and blessed that I did, because now I can live up to what I wrote, which was amazing. I remember going to the homecoming dance and everything was just great, and just being there with her outside of Polyester Paradise. This was the next dance that we went to together, and now I can fully enjoy her. Just being around with her and just enjoying and having a good time with her friends and just being involved. Just somehow making memories now. It was just like the start of a journey. There are so many things that I love to do with Mackenzie, but some of my favorite things that we have done in the past, or some of the moments that just come always to my mind, is obviously one, only between me and her, is the penguin exhibit at SeaWorld. We were there a random day with her parents, and we decided to just walk around the park, and we ended up in the penguin exhibit, and just a great memory happened there, and something that we'll always laugh about to this day, but just know that me and her love penguins. We love to go to the parks, random parks, and just look around and just really see the beauty and what God has created around us. And we love Lifetime. Most of the time we spent together in high school was watching Lifetime movies, other than her having to sit there and watch football games. So definitely watching Lifetimes and watching movies with her, awesome. I love to go out to eat with her. Surprisingly, she loves to eat and I love to eat, so wherever there's food, trust me, me and Mackenzie will be there. But honestly, my favorite moments and things that I like to do with her is just to be with her. Whether it's my house or her house, or her watching my football games and her being in the stands and me just looking back and knowing that she's watching me is some of the just greatest moments that I'll always cherish. And hopefully that there'll be more times like that in the near future. And I'm just so thankful that it's her in the stands and no one else. Something that I continue to bother her about to this day is when I played at Oak Ridge my senior year. We played Lake Nona on their first ever home game in their school's history, and we beat them 62-17. She cheered for Lake Nona, but we really know who she cheered for that night. Looking back at the 8 years that we've been together on and off, I am so thankful for this. I'm so thankful for all the hard times, all the up and downs, the struggles, the relationships. I'm just thankful for it all, because look where we're at today. We're here. We've made it. We're stronger than ever. I'm happy. She's happy. It just makes sense. Some of my most favorite things about Mackenzie is, number one, her heart. I'll never forget one night she came home from work and she was shadowing a new position as a nurse, and she sat on my bed and just described the young kids that she was looking at and talking to, and some of these kids were going through some struggles like cancer and some diseases and things that, you know, kids at 4 years old shouldn't be going through. And she just started crying because she felt the love and felt the need that these kids wanted. And to see her do that within only a couple hours of her hanging out with them just really showed me the type of person she is and the type of heart that she has. And that is so attractive to me. But other than that, I just love everything about her. The way she walks, the way she dresses, the way she communicates, the way she just loves life, the way that she sees the bigger picture, the way she puts thought into things, and just everything about her just makes me just gravitate towards her, and it just at the end of the day, I just love her. I love everything about her, and there's nothing that she can do that will ever take that away from me. No matter how mad she gets me, how many arguments we go through, how many ups and downs, we've been through it all, and here I am today, and I love her more than I've ever loved her. After reminiscing our entire story, our love story, time and time again, I'm completely and continually reminded of God's grace, love, perfect timing, patience. It's completely evident. It says in Proverbs 19:14 that a house and wealth are an inheritance from our parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. With that being said, there's only one more thing left to do. Boy, she looks good the first day I saw her.
My dress is probably short.
Mackenzie, boy, it's been a journey. It's been a long 8 years. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I'm just so glad it's you. Just being in front of all friends and family here, and just knowing that all the things that they've been through this whole situation and this process, I wouldn't have traded it for anything else, because I know I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with my best friend. I love you. You know, there's a lot of obviously hard times, ahead and things that we've been through in the past, but, I'd rather go through all those hard times with you than any good time with anyone else. And, I just wanted to let you know that you're always the one. Always, from day one. When I saw you at the vending machines, the first thing I thought about was, man, if I can just date this girl. Well, that being said, Mackenzie, will you spend the rest of my life with me? Marry me? Yes. You say yes.
I'm shaking.
It fits.
Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's all friends and
I
family.
know it was weird whenever I came in because my mom was like, you go over here. So. Oh, baby. I love you.
Oh, gosh. Well, there's your friends and family.
I'm just shocked.
So,
Well, thank you all for coming.
to the show.